Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 bot AI cast. We have got ourselves what should be a good one here today, as I think it's a lot of people's favorite bot. It is none other than QueenBot. I'll give you one guess as to what this bot does. And taking on QueenBot, it's going to be a bot I don't believe I've ever cast. It's called TerrAIn, but the AI very cleverly is capitalized. So yeah, debut for this bot on the channel. And we're going to see how well it does against QueenBot, as QueenBot is a very interesting beast, that's for sure. So, ladies and gentlemen, if we can get one like for every queen that's probably going to be built in this match, that would be amazing. So I don't know, like 120 likes or something, 60, who knows, it depends how long the game goes on. But there's going to be a lot. Leave a comment down below saying more bots if you do want to see more of these bot matches. And yeah, join the Discord. You can see all the links down below if you want to play versus these bots, some of the bots anyway. And yeah, we've got a ZVT. But as I always say, the race doesn't really matter as much when you're doing things like building only one unit, which is going to be queens. So QueenBot, it has got out a second base and a third base on the way already. That's not surprising. When you're only making queens, you need lots of hatcheries. And then at least QueenBot saves on gas in the early game. Meanwhile, TerrAIn is going just for a Reaper expand, so playing it pretty standard. And yeah, we'll just have to wait and see where this one goes. To answer a question about that people always say in the comments down below is, oh, can we have 2v2 bots, 3v3 bots, or 4v4 bots? That would be amazing. Unfortunately, I don't believe that will ever exist, because it is just like these bots, they're all programmed for 1v1. All the infrastructure is set up on 1v1. So I don't think we're ever going to get 2v2 bots. Anyway, we do have the Reaper for TerrAIn coming on in, starting to shoot away some of the drones. The injured ones do try and run away, but they actually decide to run the wrong way. So I'm not sure if that was the speed mining for QueenBot that kind of overrode that. We do have one of those queens come down the ramp and actually catches the Reaper. So at least the Reaper dies. For 2 drones, which isn't ideal for the Zerg, but I'm sure QueenBot can get back into it, as it already has got a 4th hatchery on the way. TerrAIn is just playing like a respectful Terran, going for a 1-1-1 opening, so that's 1 barracks, 1 factory, 1 starport. So potentially going to have out a Banshee or something like that later on. We'll have to wait and see. QueenBot just pumping out drones, pumping out queens, unsurprisingly. And there is a tank on the way for TerrAIn, and tanks are probably one of the best units in the game against queens, because queens are just so slow they can't really get on top of tanks without getting blown to smithereens. So we'll see if that's going to be the case or not. I don't know if you I don't believe it's possible to play versus QueenBot, but it would be a very fun challenge to do if you could, to play like, try and beat QueenBot with mass queens, see if that was possible, whether you could do it better. I genuinely don't know if I could or not. Maybe using like drops or something, or niduses, you could potentially catch it off guard. Anyway, we do have TerrAIn just doing its thing, getting up a nice safe wall, telling us B macro, which I can only assume means build macro, doing its thing. And yeah, let's see, as there's now stim pack on the way for the Terran bot, so gonna be playing a little bit of bio, which is cool to see. I'm a big fan of that. I don't think we get enough Terran bots that lean heavily into the bio anyway, and that looks like what TerrAIn's actually going to be doing, as it's kind of going for a 2-1-1, so potentially a bit of a stim timing coming towards QueenBot. We'll see if that's going to be able to get some work done. Of course, queens are very good at shooting down medivacs, but they're not so good against stim bio, particularly without upgrades. At the same time, smaller numbers of stimmed bio actually have a hard time killing queens, because they can just transfuse each other endlessly. We've now got an Evo chamber on the way for QueenBot, second Evo on the way. If you're making mass queens, you probably want upgrades for them, so that's exactly what this bot is doing. Just mining gas off the... it only needs 2 extractors for all its gas needs. We've got Vikings on the way for TerrAIn, which is very interesting, seeing as how this is Starcraft 2, where queens don't fly. And... yeah, let's see. Stim's still just on the way. Looks like the blue TerrAIn bot is actually getting quite aggressive as it moves out across the map. The tanks could be very big when it comes to pushing this. However, there is 14 queens out for QueenBot. And, I mean, it's like 14 queens against 9 marines. 2 marauders and 2 tanks. I think that's pretty good for the queens. As long as they don't eat some massive tank shots, we'll see how well TerrAIn's going to do with this attack. And now it's coming on in. The bio's moving forward. The Vikings are in the skies. They may start shooting down overlords, but they're not going to do much else. The bio is microing back against all these queens. The queens just shoot the Vikings out of the sky pretty quickly. The bio now stims, though, and it's just doing a good job of kiting back. The tanks are shelling away as well, putting out as much damage as they can. The problem is there's so much transfuse, and it kind of goes to show how the queens can just support each other. The sisterhood taking care of each other. And I don't know if a single queen has really died. Only 1 queen died in this attack, despite that tank shooting away for like a solid 20 seconds. There's 2 more queens being kited by a marauder. Marauders outrange queens on the ground, for those of you that don't know that. However, this marauder, it's got its work cut out for it now that the queen's on the high ground. It's coming down the ramp. And this marauder, we'll have to check back in on it, as there is still a bit of a push going on for TerrAIn. Tanks and a scan going down to help clean up the creep. Of course, there's tons of creep because, well, there's tons of creep spreading queens. 2 tanks are set up, but the queens are coming on in. There is no attack upgrades for the tanks on the way or done yet. The queens are kind of just ignoring the tanks, so as they try and chase down this one marauder. That's a bit of a mistake. That marauder being a hero, actually allowing those tanks to get way more shots off and actually kill off quite a few queens. And so, looks like they will be cleaned on up. While this is going on, QueenBot has got up a Nidus network. It's got 1-1 upgrades done, whereas 1-1 is not yet done for TerrAIn. We've got 5 queens being produced at a time. All the bases being taken. There's even a queen in the Dropper Lord, probably flying around to start spreading some creep, something like that. And TerrAIn is just getting up a 3rd base, but that is a little bit concerning, seeing as how it's a TerrAIn bot that's just getting up to 3 bases, whereas the Zerg bot has got so many hatcheries and is building a line of hatcheries towards the TerrAIn's doorstep. The tanks will still be very good against the queens, though, as long as they keep getting produced. Bio also scales much better than queens, as, I mean, just they put out more damage as upgrades grow and army counts grow. This one tank is getting lots of shots off on the queen, so that it's doing incredible work. However, we do have a Nidus worm now popping up. We'll see if queens are going to spill out of this or what. And there is 1 queen, 2 queen, 3 queens. It's like a clown car of queens. Some TerrAIn bio is coming forward to try and address this problem. There is a tank set up. The queens are actually closing in on this tank. Another one may be getting dropped on top of it. We shall see. Fortunately, there isn't really any transfuse because queens have to be on creep to transfuse. More queens are popping out of this Nidus, just getting right in front of the face of this TerrAIn Bioforce. However, they are kind of popping out into the hot seat. More and more just popping on out, though, as QueenBot really pushes into the base of TerrAIn. And, I mean, the 3rd is on the way for TerrAIn. It's actually going to be a planetary. We'll see if that's going to be helpful or not. More queens are popping out of this Nidus. They just never end. Is QueenBot just, like, rallying more and more queens into that Nidus? Watch it go. There it goes. In and out. However, the Nidus does perish. QueenBot's going to try that again. I don't think that one's going to have any more success. So, QueenBot has actually lost a lot of queens this game. 42. It really hasn't built up to that many. Now, the Zerg bot has got a fantastic economy. It's making 10 queens at a time. 2-2 upgrades are on the way for the queens. There's hatcheries just all over the bloody place. And TerrAIn is just kind of hanging out, stuck on 3 bases. And it's going to be a challenge to get any more up, seeing as how there's, well, a hatchery at its 4th base. Bio is still trading out with the queens and doing a good job at that, though. Resources lost. It's 9,300 to 6,800. QueenBot has got a comical economy, though. Tanks will continue to be good for the TerrAIn bot, though. We've got more production on the way for TerrAIn as well. The bio is pushing forward, trying to get on top of these hatcheries. The 1-1 definitely does help out. The Stim Marauder's putting out lots of damage on this. Did I just hear another Nidus Worm go down? Yes, I did, but there's not that many queens in it. QueenBot's queens are just all over the place. More and more are popping out. I don't think I've ever seen this Zerg bot actually be so aggressive with all these queens. Like, usually I feel like it's building up to more queens before it does anything. This time it is just purely in the aggro mode. This one tank sieged at the back is getting lots of work done against the queens though, but there's more and more coming out. This bio is stimmed super hard, so queens will actually be able to potentially kill off those units unless they get healed. More and more queens just continuing to pop out of this Nidus. The Nidus keeps getting transfused. I mean, there's this TerrAIn bio coming back, which is very, very stimmed. More queens are popping on out. QueenBot is just in full-on attack mode. And I mean, it's got the economy to support this for quite a while. The concern is, as the Terran's army supply grows, things may get worse for QueenBot. But still, I'm loving the just Nidus clown car. A never-ending stream of queens, as it's 15 being produced at a time right now. And I mean, oh, Broodling's almost got that siege tank. That's nice. TerrAIn is still unable to secure up a 4th base. There isn't any creep tumors that have spread this far, so maybe it will be able to take this base at some point. I mean, QueenBot definitely still has lots of bases for it to secure. Tanks eating lots of, or queens eating lots of tank shots still seems to be the trend of this match, which doesn't surprise me too much, as they really are queen killers, despite not doing any extra damage to them. Now, let's see, the queens are marching forward, trying to trade with this bio as well as they can. Supply-wise, QueenBot is behind. We have got a couple of Vikings even harassing at this location. That's a cool play by TerrAIn, actually using Vikings. Maybe hunting some Overlords. But there is lots of queens on the ground, so we'll see how long they last. Meanwhile, these queens are somehow pushing up this ramp. Mass transfuse, they may actually be able to kill off these tanks, and they do. I think that's the 2-2 upgrades really helping them out. As the march of the queens continues on, there's another Nidus Worm getting put down. TerrAIn has yet to get up a 4th base as well. There is an SCV hanging out. I'm not sure why it hasn't actually built that yet. Maybe it was waiting for that tank to leave, but anyway, a 4th is on the way for the blue TerrAIn bot, so time may be on its side. We shall see more queens popping out of this Nidus. There is no hive for the red Zerg though, so no 3-3 upgrades are in sight, so QueenBot just hanging out on 2-2. And I think QueenBot may be better off if it did just pool its queens a little bit more, like get up like 30 queens and then just have lots of transfuse energy. But at the same time, I am loving how aggressive it's being. We do have TerrAIn actually going for an attack towards the bottom left. Meanwhile, there is yet another Nidus getting put down in this spot. This is QueenBot's favorite spot to build Nidus, but I think this one may be getting shut on down. The Marines are running right on by, though, as I believe they're being called into battle. Nidus finishes up, but oh, it just barely gets shut down. We do have quite the push going on down here from TerrAIn. 3 tanks are sieged on up. That's triple trouble. We'll see if all these ladies can handle that problem. The bio is quite stimmed for TerrAIn. Of course, there is still an upgrade lead for the Zerg bot as well. Queens are wandering forward, eating lots of tank shots, but they are on creep. They can transfuse. This is just a ridiculous mess we have here. Lots of injured queens running all over the place. We have another attempt at a Nidus Worm being put down. Yeah, I mean, QueenBot's still hanging on. It's still got lots of bases at its disposal. I'd have loved if it got out a few more drones, though. Just macroed a little bit harder. Still, though, supply-wise, QueenBot is actually ahead of TerrAIn, which hasn't always been the case. We got more queens popping out of these Nidus. There is a 4th base done for TerrAIn. It's turning into a planetary. That's going to be difficult for the queens to break. The Nidus was killed. However, another one is on the way. It's about to pop on out, and we'll see if more queens are going to pop out of there too, and they do. You got to really give it to the bot author of QueenBot for the functionality of the Nidus. I mean, I know it doesn't always work because sometimes it just gets sniped, but like the queens are pretty consistently getting shot on out of that thing, just more and more popping on out. QueenBot definitely alive, it seems. Now, more queens popping on out of that nidus, just constantly fighting. We've got queens pushing towards the upper right side. Looks like there's not much for the TerrAIn out on the map. Just a couple of marauders running around. Meanwhile, creep is spreading. We've got a hive on the way for the ZergBot. The TerrAIn's main has mined out. The TerrAIn's natural is pretty much mined out. So the third and the fourth are very important. But even that third base is starting to mine out. So it's not like TerrAIn has infinite amounts of money. The Queen Onslaught also has got lots of bases to mine from still, and that can be quite problematic for TerrAIn, depending how long this game goes on, or whether TerrAIn can secure up another base. But it is very difficult to get a base when there's hatcheries and creep tumors all over the place. Queens are still trying to push on in. The tank count has grown quite high for the TerrAIn, though. This is really good efficiency, but I mean, the queens, they're still fighting, and they may actually kill off one of these tanks. The upgrade's really helping out there. We've got double tank production for TerrAIn, but no attack upgrades on the tanks definitely makes them deal not as much damage as you'd like. We've got another nidus going on down. SCVs were even taking shots at that. These queens, we'll see if they soak long enough for this nidus to pop on out. It's going to be close. Looks like there are queens now popping out. The nidus even gets transfused, and I mean, I don't think there's enough queens in here, though, to really reinforce this position. As I say that, though, there's more popping out. SCVs even being targeted down. Marauders are stimming all over the place. They don't know what to do. They're like, why won't it stop? It's like there's a flood, and the Marauders are just panicking. They don't know what to do. Lots of tanks are getting set up. They are probably going to be able to cut through this nidus and cut through these queens, though, as the tanks really are saving TerrAIn's bacon, killing off most of these queens. We've got 180 dead queens this match. I mean, my queen production for this match was way off. It's been too long since I cast a QueenBot match. We do still have the ZergBot taking okay trades, so I mean, it's 24k lost to 36k, but look at all the bases for QueenBot. Like, it's got so much more mining to do, whereas TerrAIn is still mining out this third base. The ZergBot has just been trading non-stop, and this has kept the TerrAIn bot from reaching a significant supply. We've got 6 siege tanks going to be getting set up. We'll see if the queens can actually take them down. No support for these tanks. This is actually a huge pickoff for QueenBot. Even if it doesn't kill off all the tanks, killing off a few of them is a big deal, because 6 tanks is definitely quite the threat to all these queens. They're doing a good job, though. You know, the hatchery just gets built amidst all that chaos. We have got the tanks are doing pretty well for themselves, but I mean, 3 of them died. Almost 4 of them have died. There's still another nidus going down. How many of those have been killed? 15 nidus have been killed this match, and I'm sure that's not the last one. +3 attack is about done for the queens. Armor never was started, as QueenBot has just been in full-on aggro mode. We've got just more queens being produced, unsurprisingly. +3 attack will definitely help out the queens, too. The lack of any further upgrades for TerrAIn definitely is hurting it a little bit, but I mean, it's not like it's got a strong economy to fall back onto. This base is still mining pretty strong. This hatchery on the left side may be cleaned on out, but yeah, we'll have to keep eyes on that. Marauders on the high ground are doing what they can. 2 tanks shelling those clumped up queens, but queens really don't take that much damage from siege tanks. I mean, it's 40 damage, which is a lot, but queens have 175 HP. There's also the armor, which means it's actually a little bit less damage than that. Now we're even getting +3 armor on the way for the queens, and tanks still shooting away. SCV even repairing this one. The queens are actually targeting down the SCVs. That's going to die. There's another nidus attempt going up. The queen count is actually growing if we take a look. It's 160 supply now. How many queens are out presently? It's 34 out on the map. I think this is the most queens we've had all game. Despite them constantly being slaughtered, it just never ends. The planetary is now even going to be collecting some queen skulls, and it's going to take a lot of queens to break that planetary. But who knows? QueenBot does target down the SCVs, so that's actually happening. There's only 29 SCVs left. Medivacs are being targeted down too. Queens off creep. They're still pushing in. You know you're in trouble when queens are killing your planetary. And the QueenBot even flexing a little bit. That's 85% of the map covered in creep. That is quite the flex. All the SCVs that are on deck to repair this planetary are being picked off. And with that mining gone, TerrAIn really doesn't have anything. It's just amazing how many tanks we've seen killed by queens this match. And the planetary is going to go down, so yeah, I think that's it. QueenBot, at the expense of, place your bets now in the comments down below how many queens have died this game. I'm going to go ahead and say like 232. Okay. That's a lot of queens. But a lot of TerrAIn stuff has died too. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I always enjoy casting QueenBot. If you do as well and you want to see more QueenBot games, just comment more queens in the comments down below, or just more bots in general, as it does help out with the YouTube algorithm. Click that like button. And if you do want to support these goofy cats, consider becoming a YouTube member or using that PayPal link down below. And now we just gotta watch the slow process of queens killing everything that TerrAIn has. This planetary is being shot at, but the queens aren't dying because they're just transfusing each other, although that one died. She mustn't have been liked by her friends, because none of them spared a transfuse for her. And yeah, that is a 200 supply Zergbot, maxed out on queens. This is just incredibly ridiculous, but you gotta love to see it. This is the fun thing about Starcraft bots, that's for sure. Depot is panicking, raising and lowering. Queen's still just shooting away. All 68 of them, soon to be 69. And it does take them a while to kill all these buildings. Queens are not known for killing buildings quickly. That's gonna be it. Thanks so much for tuning on in.